This evening, we are going to talk about gaslighting. We're going to get a much better understanding of what gaslighting is, where actually the term comes from, and what we can do from it as well, and how it affects us. So, we hear the term gaslighting all the time. Well, what is gaslighting? Where does the term come from? It's actually from a play, which was then made into a movie called Gaslight. And the plot of this movie was the husband would be very abusive towards his wife in a way of convincing her that she was insane. So what he did was manipulate their environment in the household. The most relevant one for what we're talking about is he would take the actual gaslight and he would dim them. So the old fashioned gaslights where it was like a lamp, and he would dim them. And when she raised the concern and raised the fact that these gaslights don't seem the same, they seem a lot less brighter, he would make her believe she wasn't remembering things correctly. So she started becoming or she started to believe, and he was saying to her that she was delusional. Basically, it's a psychological manipulation. He would be saying things to her and getting to a place of just saying like, I just don't know what to do with you anymore. All of these things that you're saying, what are we going to do with you? And other things such as like, nothing's happened to the light. So his entire focus would be on making her think that she was going insane. Now, this is why we use the term gaslight for this type of psychological manipulation. To gaslight is to make someone question their own personal truth and reality. And this is done by planting seeds of doubt to the person that is being, or that is the victim of gaslighting. Now, this can be a memory of something, it can be someone's perception, or it could be someone's judgment, or even how they feel or felt. The way this is done is by trying to convince someone that they didn't see what they did see, that they didn't hear what they did hear, or how they felt didn't matter and they shouldn't have felt like that, and they don't even have the right to feel the way that they do. So an example of gaslighting would be a father comes home, let's say after being at the pub, and the children are there and the father's really, really drunk, and he starts being abusive and he keeps falling around, and the mother would say to the children, oh, daddy's just tired. That is a form of gaslight. Another is someone would be doing something that would make you very angry, and when you show that anger because of what they've done, they say that you have no reason to be angry. They could even point out reasons for you not to be angry, or reasons why you shouldn't be angry as well. Or it could be in a discussion with someone and they say something, and whatever that thing is, they say something, whether it's about you or whether it's about the topic at hand. When you repeat to them what they said, their response is saying, well, I know I said that, but I didn't mean that, and that's not what I meant. These are all forms of gaslighting. If the people that were saying these things to us were people that we trusted, then this is where you would start to doubt yourself. This is where you start to think that you're actually going insane. You would think that you are the problem, that there's something wrong with you. Gaslighting destabilizes your reality. When you start doubting your reality, you severely decrease your self-esteem. Internally, yourself, to the self. Now, you get to a place where you learn that you can't trust yourself anymore. You can't trust your judgment or what you think or how you feel. You learn to only trust the person that is gaslighting you. Gaslighting is not a small thing. It can lead people to mental breakdowns. gaslight is severe distress, and with no resolution, that is then emotional trauma. So if we are being a victim of gaslighting and we're experiencing that distress without any resolution, this is where the split in the consciousness kicks in. This is what emotional trauma is. Now, as humans, what we do is we project aspects of ourselves onto others. And it's not uncommon for someone that is gaslighting you to project onto you things about themselves as well. So this can look like being called a narcissist by the person that is gaslighting you, even though the person that is gaslighting you is showing narcissistic behavioral traits themselves. Now, we can gaslight consciously or unconsciously. And what I mean by that is I can consciously choose to gaslight someone, or I can gaslight someone unconsciously, not even knowing that I'm doing it. It's not uncommon that people that are the victim of being gaslit or gaslighting, these usually come from the people closest to us. It's not uncommon for that to happen. So this could be members of your family or your caregivers. Most of the time, it's unconsciously happening. Most of the time, people aren't even aware what they're doing. It's a behavior that's passed down through generations. We still live in the emotional dark ages, and these are learned behaviors that our caregivers have gone through, their caregivers have gone through with their, and so on and so on. Now, someone that gaslights and that's been gaslit gets to a place where they gaslight themselves. One of the ways that as humans we protect ourselves from emotional abuse that's coming externally is that we do the thing onto ourselves that has been done onto us. So we get to a stage where we gaslight ourselves, and this is now an unconscious learnt behavior. Now, it's very, very important to say that if you are someone that is or has been a victim of gaslighting by people close to you, or whether that's your family or caregivers, now that doesn't mean you weren't loved. In most cases, it's done unconsciously, and collectively, we don't know what we don't know. And our loved ones, our caregivers, our families don't know what they don't know. And they have loved us in most cases. Our caregivers and our family have loved us to the best of their ability. Now, that doesn't mean that it's okay. And it doesn't mean that it should continue either. Now, for someone that has been a victim of gaslighting, there's very, very little self-trust. Sometimes no self-trust at all. And what this means is that there are aspects within you that have learnt this behavior. You are an ecosystem. You are not one thing. You are not one part. You have many, many different parts within you. You have many, many different aspects. Some of these aspects have, well, they all have learnt behaviors. They all have needs, wants, and desires. Some of them have certain learnt behaviors that they have learnt to gaslight the self in order to stay safe. This is why for someone that has been a victim of gaslighting, we gaslight ourselves. It's a way that we've protected ourselves and stayed safe. Now, this is the protection. And again, this is how we've stayed safe. So the way we change this behavior is by understanding these parts of ourselves, understanding where they come from, why this behavior started in the first place. And by understanding these parts of ourselves, we become intimate with these parts of ourselves. And to become intimate with these parts of ourselves, it allows us to understand deeper what part of us they're trying to protect. Now, the reason this is all happening is because there are unmet needs there. So in an experience as a child, I will have gone through experiences where I was being gaslighted and my needs weren't met in that moment. So I had to figure out how to meet those needs. And it doesn't matter if it's healthy in a healthy way or an unhealthy way. I need to figure out how to meet those needs because we are humans and that's how we work. We have needs that need to be met. So once we figure out what those needs were that were unmet. And once we learn how we're meeting them, we can then start to meet them in a healthier way. And we can start to bring these parts of ourselves in with self-love. And this is what healing is. So to get to a place where we are not gaslighting ourselves, which then allows us to get to a place where we can implement stronger boundaries, is that we have to heal these parts of ourselves. And it's very, very understandable when we go to the people that are gaslighting us. It's very, very understandable that we would try to create these boundaries, and it's very understandable that that's challenging as well. The reason it might sometimes seem impossible or very, very hard to do is because to set boundaries isn't just, okay, now I'm saying this and that's it. In order to be able to set boundaries, I need to find out first what the unmet needs are within myself and learn how to meet them. Otherwise, even if I'm trying to set these boundaries, I'm still going to feel the way that I do because these needs are unmet within myself. And this is where it's going to be very, very hard to interact with people that would be gaslighting you as well, because these needs are still unmet. So if you were to put boundaries in with someone and they cross it, then it would still make you feel that annihilation. It would still trigger that fear, that anger, that apathy, that despair, everything inside of you. So the path is healing. The path of everything that we talk about really is healing, but the path of this is healing.